Ever hear a financial advisor tell you that it's okay to retire younger than age 60? You're about to.
Welcome to another episode of Millstone River Live, a podcast brought to you by Millstone River Wealth Management.
Hello, Matt.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited about this topic.
Why is that?
Well, it's something more and more we're working with clients to come up with strategies and ways to retire at what might have been considered an untraditional age. Essentially, before Social Security and some other types of retirement benefits sit in, people are deciding that they want more free time, flexibility, and are reaching out to us and saying, how can we make this happen? So today, I thought I'd ask you, what are some advantages that people might consider when thinking about retiring, earlier than what is traditional?
So I may be biased, but I think it's a great topic. We should mention this is part one of a two-part series. So the first part is going to be more lifestyle type considerations. And then part two, we will tease you to come back and listen again, will be more financial considerations.
Wow, this is our first two-part podcast.
We are branching out today.
Evolving. So Matt, maybe you can get us started. What are some things that might intrigue people about, retiring before the age of 60, for example?
Yeah, so we're using age 60 just as a line in the sand, but, we would encourage our listeners to sort of fill in whatever age felt appropriate for them that they would consider to be a younger age as opposed to working a longer period of time that would allow them some of the more fun lifestyle type considerations. So I've got a little bit of a list that I'd like to share, and I would just preface it by saying some of these are going to appeal to you as our listener and some may not, and that's okay. But hopefully you'll get some thoughts from it that will sort of ruminate in your own mind. The first, I think, is an obvious, so we'll get it out of the way, and that is increased leisure time. People who retire younger tend to have more time for things like pursuing their hobbies or traveling around or more recreational activities. They are able to enhance the quality of their life by doing those things that maybe are not so easily done when you're working. I know that the biggest craze you hear about is pickleball. And when you go to the pickleball courts, there's a lot of people who are in their 60s and 70s. You don't see too many people much younger than that, but that's certainly an idea of something that you don't want to do when you're 80 or 90 necessarily.
Actually, there's just been reporting that a lot of health insurers are seeing, their costs go up because an older population is unfortunately sometimes getting hurt playing pickleball. And maybe if people started at a younger age, their claims ratio would go down. And that might be a good transition to one of our next advantages.
Yeah, it's almost like what I'm going to say next, and that is better health and better wellness. So early retirees have the opportunity to make it a priority to maintain better health, physical health and mental health. We hear a lot more about mental health these days than I think we ever did in the past. Part of that is stress reduction. Part of that is more relaxation. And part of that is going to be spending time on the things that you value and enjoy. But I think that also ties in with flexibility. So a younger retiree has a more flexible lifestyle. You can adapt to changing circumstances. You could explore new opportunities. Personal development, I think, is something that working people think about, maybe even dream about, but having more time and freedom to focus on personal development, whether it's learning a new skill, pursuing education just for the pure fun of doing it, or exploring creative endeavors. How many people, when they retire, take up an art or a subject to study? And it's obviously easier to do when you have more time on your side and you're still vibrant enough, energetic enough, and curious enough to want to pursue something like that. One of the other obvious ones is going to be family time or relationship time, spending time with the people that you care most about, whether that's a spouse or a significant other, maybe it's kids or grandkids or extended family that live out of the area, but being able to foster stronger relationships and probably most importantly, I think, creating lasting memories, doing things together, even if it's just those common experiences, that could be a big deal. Harder to do when you're still working. Travel is something we hear all the time, right? People always talk about, when I retire, I want to travel. And there are a lot of stories about people who take trips and find themselves out walking about some European city, for example, and then say, it was a great time. It was a beautiful place to visit. I really wish I had done it 10 years ago when it would have been a lot more accessible to me. The knees are not as good or whatever the reason. But I think taking advantage of travel while you're in good physical health is a true benefit of being retired at a younger age.
That's a really good point. We unfortunately hear that a lot, and I'm glad you're highlighting that.
Reducing stress. I mean, how many people complain about their stress level being elevated while they're at work? So reducing stress and all of the work-related pressures, things like deadlines or commuting through traffic, reducing that stress certainly can have not only a positive effect on mental health, but physical health as well. Many of our clients take up a business opportunity and they pursue something entrepreneurial when they retire, either because you can't do it as a competitor or there just isn't enough time while you're still working full time to pursue something, but leveraging your skills or even your passions to do something entrepreneurial would be an awesome use of time. Still making money, and we'll talk more about that in part 2 of this podcast episode when we get to financial factors, but certainly starting a business or pursuing some kind of venture when you have the time to do it could be a lot of fun and lucrative. We engage with people who talk about doing volunteer work or philanthropic work, that they would do more of it if they had more time to do it. It's something that they enjoy, that they find brings great fulfillment, contributing to community or to some organization, getting involved with charitable activities, and just doing volunteer work for the pure good of it and the pure enjoyment of it. And obviously, as I keep saying, having more time makes it conducive to be able to do those things. And that's a great thing to be able to do if you're retired, particularly at a younger age. And on that note, too, freedom to pursue any type of passion. So it could be dedicating more time to different hobbies or interests, activities that you wouldn't have had the time to explore during the working years. And that could include the volunteer and philanthropic work, but it could also be other things. You can use your imagination and think about, if I had more time, 40 or 50 or 60 hours more per week to claim as my own, what would I do with it? There's a term that we hear a lot, and I feel like during the pandemic, we heard it even more than before the pandemic, and that is burnout. People want to figure out, how do I avoid burnout? Retiring before burnout sets in, I think it'd be helpful to maintaining a healthier balance between work life and personal life, avoiding negative impacts associated with stress and exhaustion, especially that goes on for an extended period of time. So that burnout, I think, can be completely avoided or at least partially avoided if you kind of pursue these other things at a younger age. Not to take anything from our second part of the episode, but, there is a lot to be said for financial independence. And if you can achieve financial independence at a younger age, it means that you have a sense of security. It means that you have greater peace of mind and allows people to have more control over their own financial futures. I think actually the term retirement at some point might be better called independence, because it's not just about cleaning out your desk and packing all your personal belongings into a cardboard box and leaving never to be seen or heard from again. It might just be having the ability to make choices for yourself about, do I still want to work full time? Maybe there's an opportunity to do the same type of work, but on a part-time basis. And instead of calling that partial retirement or part-time retirement, maybe we're talking about it in terms of independence. And specifically, If you have the financial means to do so, the choice becomes your own. Downsizing. We hear the term downsizing from every pre-retiree we talk to, in one form or another, but I think most people think about that in terms of their home. Downsizing could be reducing the amount of space that they have to heat and cool or clean. It could be reducing the cost of maintaining their home, and it could just be taking that money on a less expensive home and using it for some of these other pursuits that we're talking about. But the ability to downsize seems more feasible at retirement than it does beforehand. Early retirees have more flexibility to do that. And sometimes people will talk about downsizing, but it's not because they want to sell a more expensive house to buy a less expensive house necessarily. Maybe they want a different type of floor plan, all one level, open rooms, that kind of thing, or in a community that has built-in social and activities, that kind of thing.
Over the years, I've become partial to the term right-sizing.
Yeah, that's better than downsizing because sometimes people actually don't have fewer square feet, right? On that note, too, when you talk about right-sizing, there is a better balance between work and personal life. So enhancing that work-life balance. Early retirees have more time to balance the distribution between the things that they feel they need to do and the things that they choose to do. And so leading to a more satisfying lifestyle overall could be another benefit, I would say, of this early retirement lifestyle. And then the last one I'd like to share would be that early retirees may find it easier to adapt to unexpected life changes, whether it be health issues, additional family responsibilities, or personal goals, things that, without constraints from a traditional work schedule, are more easily or more feasibly addressed.
Well, I'm intrigued. Definitely sounds as though it's worth considering once you've gone over some of the benefits of retiring at an earlier age. I should note that everyone's circumstances are different. Financial preparedness is important as well as personal preferences. Additionally, early retirement does come with its own set of challenges and considerations that we're going to begin to discuss in part 2 of this podcast. The need for careful financial planning to ensure a sustainable but prolonged lifestyle throughout retirement is definitely necessary. So we look forward to talking to you again soon in part 2.
Thanks for joining us. In this episode, we've shared some factors to consider when planning for your retirement. This list may not be exhaustive. We strongly recommend you carefully consider your personal and financial circumstances. In addition, we recommend you consult professionals for financial, tax, and legal considerations.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Millstone River Live. Feel free to share it with someone you think might benefit. Millstone River Wealth Management is an independent wealth management firm based in New Jersey. We form a supportive partnership with our clients and help with financial education and planning. We welcome your feedback. Send comments or questions to podcast@millstone-river.com. More information about our firm can be found online at millstone-river.com. Thanks for listening.